is Coach Adam here at the Dorchester Road Senior Center. I'm going to go over my gym orientation that I do once a month. And typically, I always recommend starting off on a piece of cardio equipment for about 5 minutes just to get the body warmed up. And I really like these recumbent bikes because they're the most joint friendly piece of equipment we have here. And I pulled this middle handle to put the seat up. If you're a taller person, you're going to always be putting the seat up on this piece of cardio equipment. And if you're a little bit shorter, you're going to put the seat down. We just want to make sure that when we pedal, that our feet aren't coming off the pedals. So I'm going to lower my seat a little bit. And then a lot of these machines take a few minutes to get warmed up, or not even a minute, but a few seconds. And then I just hit the quick start button and I will warm up here for about 5 minutes. So a few things here on the recumbent bike. We can do just the lower body. We can do just the upper body by putting our feet up on the pegs. And of course, we can do both arms and legs. And then we can also go backwards with this machine as well. And we'll come back to this piece of equipment later on at the end of your workout. Here on the recumbent bike. On the newer bikes, these ones, the black ones with the blue handle, the seat can swivel in and out. So this would be the most accommodating piece of equipment we have here to get in and out of. And then we have this handle here, which will turn the back angle for you. And then we also can adjust the level, the intensity here on the sides of the machine as well. All right, once we warm up for about 5 minutes on a piece of equipment, and I will show more videos of some of the other cardio equipment later on, but I always recommend starting on the easiest piece of equipment to really just get the heart rate elevated and the joints through a full range of motion, and that's why the recumbent bike is really the best option for that. From there, we're going to attack the machines, and what I would recommend is you come in, you do an upper body machine, and then you do a lower body machine. Then you can go back to an upper body machine and then do another lower body machine. That would be a great way to incorporate a little bit of cardio in as well, because you'll be switching over to machines and you won't be resting as much, and you won't be hogging up the machines as much either, and you'll be able to get more exercises in basically throughout the whole workout. And that is the goal. When you come in here, we're trying to be efficient with our time. So let's start off talking about a lower body exercise. This does both the hamstrings and the quads, or the upper body. We're always going to check the weight stack to make sure the weight's not too heavy. And then if you're a taller person, for most of the machines, you're always going to be setting the seat height or the backrest further back because you're a little bit taller. You're going to have that. And then you could also adjust this handle on this machine as well, so it's comfortable. It should be right on top of our shins and right on below, on top of our ankle on the calf for the leg curl. So that also has this button here on the right side attached to the arm. This will change the intention of the exercise. And for right now, I'm just going to start by doing the leg curl. And I put my feet on top of the machine, and then I'm bringing my heels to my butt. Then I'm slowly returning the weight back to where I started. And that would be the hamstring curl exercise, where I'm bringing my heels to my butt. And then I'll take my legs out. I'm going to change the angle here, and then I can do the leg extension, which will get the top part of my legs. One thing I am not really worried about on this exercise is the pad here. If you can't do the exercise without having to be locked down, you're probably going a little bit too heavy with the weight. And I find it's just another thing we have to worry about. So don't even worry about the pad. Just make sure it's not in your way. We just have to worry about the handle to change the uh, intention of the exercise, and we have to worry about the seat rest on this. All right, the next exercise I'm going to talk about after we do a lower body exercise, I'd recommend coming to do an upper body machine. And once again, we start by checking that weight. And this machine's already set up for the row exercise, which you'll work on the back muscles. And right now it's set up for a really tall person because the seat's nice and low or set back. So I'm going to higher the seat up a little bit. Then I'm not even going to worry about the pads in front here. I'm just going to grab the handles and I'm going to bring my elbows back. We just want to find a grip that's comfortable, that allows us to do this exercise pain-free. So you might have to experiment a little bit with that. And that would be the row exercise. One thing I just completely forgot to mention on the first machine is I'd recommend 10 to 15 reps would really be a good goal. If you can do more than that, 15, it's weight's probably too light. If you can do less than, if you're doing less than 10, it's probably too heavy. You're going to run into some issues there. Okay, so what I did here to adjust the machine from the row to a chest exercise, I swung the arms forwards, and it's going to take two hands to move them forward. So you're going to have to grab the knob and the bar at the same time. So you might need to get someone to help you to adjust this machine. From here, the seat height's basically going to be the same. And I'm going to put my hand on the handles. I'm just going to punch the hands forwards. So this would be a good version of a bench press exercise, or let's say a push-up. It would stimulate the same muscles. One thing you want to keep in mind here is you really want to make sure that the bar is as far up as you can go, because if you come on the machine and the handle's too far back and you go on to do the press, you can see how this is putting a lot of stress on my shoulder joint there, and we don't want to have any issues there. So make sure the weight's further up, and this will be the easiest version on your shoulder joints. That's really the goal when we come in the gym. We're trying to get a good workout without getting hurt. Next exercise. So we've got a leg press machine here, and I am once again double checking that weight. And a unique thing on this leg press here is the seat. I would recommend starting the seat further up, and we can just push it up with our both hands. And this way, once you get into the machine, there's a little knob here on the outside. This will allow me to shimmy the seat back to where I need to start from. So once again, if you're a taller individual, you're going to be moving the seat further back to start. And if you're a little bit shorter, you're going to start with the seat further up. I'm going to put both legs on here. Then I'm extending the legs. I'm trying not to completely lock out or hyperextend those knees. And then I'm slowly returning the weight back to the center here. And so that would be the leg press exercise. And you could also do maybe calf extensions on this as well. We could do, let's say we have a bad right knee, we could do a single leg press on your good side. So there's always a way to work out your good side and your bad side. And that being said, we can do the same concept on, let's say, the leg extension or the leg curl, or even some of the upper body exercises. You can always do one arm. You just got to make sure you start with the weight a little bit lighter. Let's move on and talk about some of the other exercise machines here. But you could probably stop this video right now if you wanted to and just do that, those few exercises, maybe 2 times through, and then you could go on and do about 10 minutes on a piece of cardio equipment and call it a day there. I'm going to show you some other machines here that you could do instead of the machines that I just showed you. So another upper body machine that we could do, and this only really works on the chest and the shoulders. And the seat here, if I put my foot on the handle on the bottom or this little lever, it'll adjust the angle so I can do more of an overhead press, or I could stick with doing the incline press. And I'd recommend sticking with the incline press because it's going to be a good hybrid between a, let's say, push-up or your traditional bench press and an overhead press. And a lot of us have issues with our shoulders and our upper body in general, so the incline press is just a really great variation to do. And all I'm going to do is just punch the weight up, and we have different angles here. We just want to find an angle that allows us to do it without being in any pain during the exercise or really the following few days after. And like I mentioned here on this machine, it's really important to make sure that we have a good starting position for the handles. So it might take 2 people to adjust this to a good height, so we're not starting too low and bothering our shoulders. Another machine we have here is the bicep curl and the tricep extension machine. Once again, we have that seat height. If you're a little bit taller person, we're going to want it a little bit lower. We're going to double check to make sure that weight's in a good position. And when I sit on this machine here, my arms are just going to dangle down comfortably. And it's already set up for the bicep curl machine. And to switch it to a tricep extension, I'm going to pull this little knob out and just pull the handles up. And then from here, I would hold them like a pair of knives, and I would stab my hands down to the ground, almost like a hammer. Then I'd go into some bicep curls. And I just bring my hands to my face. And once again, when it comes to the angle of the hands, you can experiment to see which one feels the best and doesn't cause any issues. Now we have another upper body exercise here. This is a chest exercise, but it's also going to be able to work the back as well. And once again, we got that seat height. So I'm going to move the seat up a little bit. And right now, set up more for a chest fly. Okay. And all I'm doing is I'm sitting out with my back against the rest, and then I'm trying to close the weights, kind of like I'm one of those toys that are holding the big cymbals. That's how I want to think about pressing these together. And then if I flip around and I adjust the handles to the back more, and typically for the back one, you might not be able to do as much as the chest. We're just going to bring the handles or our hands back, thinking about trying to pinch the shoulder blades. So this machine here and that bicep curl and extension are really going to work more the smaller muscles. So if you have time after really working on the main muscle groups with the exercises that I showed at the beginning, and you can work on some of these smaller ones. Another exercise we have here is the abdominal crunch and the back extension machine. I will say though, this is not my favorite machine as a trainer, because it is really going to be causing a lot of flexion in our back, or that up and down motion, like doing a sit up, which has been shown to cause uh, flare up back issues and potentially cause back issues. So I will show this just to make sure you do it correctly if you do it, but not recommended if you have some type of issue. So for the abdominal crunch, I'm going to move the handle. Once again, there's just a simple knob here that I pull out, and then I'm going to adjust this to my chest a bit, and I grip it, and then I just lean forwards, and then I come back. And that would be the abdominal crunch. And you can always adjust this to be further back depending on how much of that curl you want. Then from here, for the back extension, I would sit in the front. Then I would think about trying to lean back and then resisting the weight on the way up here as well. But once again, find that these exercises are really easy to aggravate a lot of those lower back issues. So just keep that in mind when performing this exercise. All right, so we really have one more machine to go over here before we can talk a little bit about more of the cardio equipment. This will work on the outside muscles of the butt here and the inside, the thigh muscles. But kind of like the curl and the tricep extension, this would be some exercise you do towards the end of your workout when you've already completed some of the primary muscle exercises. So what I did here is this handle will swivel or change the angle of the exercise. And this would be you're going to have to pull this up here to really get into the machine in the first place. And then I'm going to turn the pads out to face inside of my thighs. If the pads are on the inside of the thighs, you're going to be closing the legs. And I broke the number one rule, checking the weights. Then I'm going to close the legs here. That would work on those adductors, or the inner thigh muscles. Okay, and then we flip the pads around. They want to be on the outside of our leg. Okay, this is going to work on more of those abductor muscles with an AB, and maybe some more of the glute muscles as well. But once again, if you're really trying to work out the lower body or the upper body, probably best to stick with the main exercises: the leg press, the leg curl, leg extension, and then we have the row and the curl and the incline bench machine here. Once you get those machines, then I would say it's probably fine to go try some of the other exercises. So once we're done with all the machines, we are going to move on to some more cardio to finish out a workout. So I've already talked a little bit about the recumbent bikes, but once again, the recumbent bike is going to be the easiest on the joints. It's going to be able to put your body through a full range of motion and really stimulate everything we need to get done. If you want a bit more of a cardiovascular workout at the end of the machine portion, you're just going to do this for 10 to 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes at a low intensity where you're able to do it for the whole time. If you're looking for more of that interval style, or let's say pretend you're going up a hill, for example, all we would do is increase the difficulty. That's just the level button here on the machines. And a lot of times they have it here on the handles as well. You're going to increase the difficulty, and that is going to stimulate more of a heart rate response. Your heart rate's going to get more jacked up, and it's also going to work more on building lean muscle mass as well. So when in doubt, if you can't do any of the exercises, any of the machines, just come in and hop on the bike here for 30 minutes, and that would bring your body through a full workout and really check off all the boxes we need to in the gym. Now, if you're a little bit uh, more spry or an active senior and your joints don't bug you and you don't have any issues, then you can try some of these other stand-in machines. These ellipticals here are going to mimic jogging more. And just like a lot of the other machines, you need to start moving before they turn on. Once they turn on, you can hit the quick start, and they will typically count down from 30 minutes. And then from there, you can look at the time and do more of a longer distance workout and just stay here consistent for that whole 30 minutes, or you can do more interval type workout where maybe you go a little bit harder for 30 seconds and then you go easy for a minute and then you go harder for 30 seconds. So that'd be a way you could change the difficulty of the exercises for the cardio. All right, here I've got the skater machine. This is just like almost skating or skiing. So it's going to work a little bit more in the hips and the glutes, for example. Like I said, this mimics more skating versus the ellipticals mimic more running. Let's talk about some of these bikes that we have here. This version is a back supported, so a little bit more joint friendly than your traditional cycle where you're leaned over. And for these machines, you're just going to hit quick start, and they typically have a few more we'll say programs and other things that you can hit. Once again, I would just recommend looking at the clock, and if you're looking for just overall fitness, we want to go for a longer duration, 20 to 30 minutes continuous. But if we're looking for more of an interval type of workout, something to really get our heart rate up and also work on some lean muscle mass as well, then you could put up the intensity a little bit. We could even hit one of the interval buttons on this machine, and it'll bring you through cycles where the resistance is really high and then the resistance is low. And the goal when the resistance is low is to catch your heart rate, let your heart rate get down, catch your breath back, and then jack it up again. And there's, like I mentioned before, the benefit of also adding a little bit more lean muscle mass than your traditional long, slow walk. So if you come over here, we have the other bike. Okay. This one's just a little bit harder to get into. Whoops. And it's a little bit harder on, obviously, the rear end. And it will be a little bit more on the back because we are leaned forward, so your back is going to take a little bit of the brunt here. But just like that other machine, the other bike machine that we have, you can hit the quick start, you can adjust the intensity, or you could hit one of the programs. I would just stick with hitting that, maybe that interval or that random program. But like I mentioned before, the purpose of the interval and those other types of programs is to really jack up your heart rate and then have it come back down and relax, and then do that repeatedly. That's how you could improve your anaerobic capacity, as they call it, versus your traditional aerobic capacity, which is just going for a 30-minute jog or a bike or a walk or a swim. That's basically going to conclude the machine part here. I'll hopefully come out with another video sometime about the functional trainer and some of the dumbbells. But just to recap, we always want to make sure we check uh, the weight stack, make sure it's not too heavy before we get started. Then there's always going to be a button for the seat height, some type of lever or knob to adjust. And if you're taller, you're typically going to have to move it back for the seat height lower. And then there's going to be a knob on these machines to change the angle and the intention of the exercise on most of them. Okay, that's a big thing to keep in mind if we're trying to do 10 to 15 reps. If you are doing more than 15 reps, the weight's too light and we need to go up in the weight a little bit. And if you can't do 10 reps, then the weight is too heavy. And if the weight's too heavy, even on the lightest weight, then I would recommend just sticking to maybe a recumbent bike workout until we can build up the strength and stuff to come into some of these machines.